Welcome to the Power Platform podcast with the bearded 365 guy, Ian Connolly, and the Mark Christie. This episode is sponsored by Scottish Summit. Visit scottishsummit.com to get your free tickets for the biggest free Microsoft community event with over 90 sessions in 7 different tracks. It will be a day not to miss.
So today, myself and Ian are joined with one of our speakers and sponsors. So, technically, Alison, are you only here because you're paying to be here?
Yeah.
We can get our money's worth, as we just said. Time is money. Come on.
Exactly. So we have Alison Mulligan, who is going to tell us about herself and tell us a little bit about the session that she's going to be doing at Scottish Summit on the 29th of February.
Yep. And your session is on presenting yourself to potential employers, I believe.
Yeah. So, like, what I find when I'm talking to people in the Dynamics community is that there's a couple of things at play. Quite often, people don't realize that they're really in demand. Um, so, it's just I want to raise a little bit of awareness of that. So, I know plenty of people who've stayed in a situation that isn't really ideal for them in many ways, because they're not aware that they have a lot of value to give to other people, if that makes sense.
Yep. And you do that
second,
via your company, which is...
Maximus IT,
Yes.
sponsors of Scottish
I
Summit.
realised we hadn't said it, so we had to bring it in very early.
You're not a cool looking robot, but yeah, we'll give you that.
Well, yeah, I'm not. I could try and dress like a robot on the day, but
Or be like one of the 80s robot things that used to stand in the town centre begging for money.
which is basically cardboard boxes spray painted silver taped to my
That's
body.
cozy looking
Is
chain.
that-
I'm
We
a
could make
robot.
Laura do that at your stand.
Because I don't think Laura would be very keen. But all right, I'll suggest it, and I'll see how many times she punches me.
Cool. So that can be a
be
guess it on the
interesting
day
to find
type thing. We can maybe give a prize for that.
Y-
But sorry,
y-
back to your second point before I
and the other point being, likewise, maybe you don't need to present yourself to potential employers. Maybe you just need to renegotiate your position where you are, and it's not always in terms of money, right? Sometimes people want to take the next step in their career, or they want perhaps some more time to attend and take part in community events, or perhaps they do want to raise. Perhaps they just feel like they're a little bit underpaid for what they're doing, and so it's helping people to talk to their current employer about their situation, and like, is there a way to improve it? Is there something that benefits both the employee, both the person and the employer? And it's not, the whole thing's not one-sided. And if there isn't like a shared meeting of minds, or the both parties don't want to go in the same direction, then one of you has to leave, and really the company's not going to leave.
Yeah.
So you have to try and find something that works better
So
for
like
you.
employer headspace then.
Yeah, kind of, and just helping people to understand that, like, you can't just ask for a pay rise. You can't just go, like, yeah, well, my costs have gone up because I've just had another baby, so I want a pay rise, because that's not the company's responsibility, right? But if you're going to say to your manager, look, I've been doing X, Y, and Z stuff. Let's take community as an example, because I love to use community involvement as an example. Let's say you go to your manager and say, look, I've done X, Y, and Z community events at my own cost, and I've used my annual leave to do it, and it's resulted in these bits of business for the company, which is worth quite a bit of money. So, can we negotiate some kind of change to my package to reflect, what additional business, or how I'm increasing the profile of the company in the community? That's not an unreasonable
No, it's
request,
not.
right?
And you're right, it's about how you lay it
yeah.
out, isn't
So,
it?
like,
And that's the point there. And that's kind of, I suppose, what you're
correct.
going to try and
Yeah.
drive with the session is, here are the things, here's a bigger
Yeah.
picture, now look at it a little bit smaller, and this is how you can make this better for you either way, whether it's internal to the company or using like your services and going external as well.
Yeah, right. And, like, if you don't have to move, then don't move. That's great. If we can make a better situation for both the company and for yourself, then brilliant. Everybody's happy. But if you can't for some reason, then understand there's a way to go about it. There's a way to present, what you can do for a company. To a potential employer, there's a way to present yourself as an individual, as a person, not just a CV or 2 sheets of paper that doesn't tell a story about who you are as an individual. I mean, if you think about people you've hired, the last people you've hired in the last 2 years, if you, now that you know those people, if you went back and looked at their CV, would it give you any flavour of that person as an individual? Would it tell you, like, would you read it?
Probably not. I don't think
No,
so.
you wouldn't. And like, I know everybody's probably sick of hearing me say it, but I'm really on a crusade to get rid of job specs and get rid of CVs in the dynamics market. There's such 60s, 70s, or even 80s concepts, that they just don't have a place in.
They are a weird thing, aren't they? A CV, like you put down on that curriculum vitae your
Mm,
life story, and you say this is what I've done, this is what I've done, but you tailor it for the job or to what you think the job spec is for the job. But 9 times out of 10, I find that if I get that job or I end up doing it, it's not actually the job role that you've
no,
described isn't what you're doing.
no.
You end up doing all these extra bits, as you say, and these are the parts that become leverage. And I
So
find
Ian,
more getting a chat. Like I was talking to Mark about this today. Actually, I don't know if that's what you're going to come in and say.
yeah, that's
I
exactly what I
don't
was
know
going
if
to
I've
say.
had a proper interview for the last 2 or 3 jobs that I've had. And
Probably
I mean
not.
that as a and I mean that
Yeah,
as I sit at a desk across from somebody wearing a shirt and tie.
yeah,
It's more been like a come in, we'll have a chat and make sure it's a fit. Make sure this works for both of us is the way I look at it. One job I had
yeah.
a few jobs ago, it was in a pub over a pint and and a burger because
And
that's what
do you know what?
suited the company and it was much more
Yeah,
relaxed. And I think you get
of
you
course.
get a better steer of the person you're working for, the people you're working with, doing it that way. For me personally,
Yeah, 100%. Like, if you're interviewing someone, you want them to be relaxed so that you get a flavor of that person. You don't want someone who's sitting there giving you the rote interview answers. And honestly, what's a standard interview answer for a job as a Dynamics pre-sales consultant? Like, honestly, you know, like, what
it's back
you're
to
going to
that.
sit there
If
and
you were a bit of furniture, what would you be? I would be a
yeah.
bookcase so that I'm full of knowledge. Bollocks.
Oh, yeah, of course you would. Yeah. Yeah, I would be a bookcase because that's what I look like from the back. That's
I
how
will
I
not answer this because it'll probably get me in trouble.
if you were going to be an animal, what would it be? Like standard interview questions. And like, in this day and age, is any interviewer asking what your strengths and weaknesses are? Because if they are, then I need to talk to them
So
quite
here's just a
badly.
random one then. Would you, in an interview environment, if you have to go down the interview route, would you have the potential employee doing presentations to you and then being questioned on the presentations? I think that's one of the most real world scenarios that I can
Mm.
give for this industry that would be helpful.
It's would I do it? Probably not. Because yes, it is a bit more of a real world scenario than sitting down and having a chat about what you've done. Um, Actually, what would be a more real world scenario is an actual real world scenario. I would say, like, let's say you're hiring a CRM dev. Why don't you just say, right, well, here's a piece of code. What's wrong with it? What would you do better? And if you're trying to find someone that does some really elegant coding solutions, then that's a great way of looking at it. Or get people to apply in different ways. Get people to apply for a pre-sales job by pitching to someone as they would do to a customer. Or as for a sales job, maybe rather than a pre-sales. If it's a pre-sales job, give them a scenario. This is what the customer wants. How would you get there? And give them the BA information that they would need to be able to come up with a solution. So maybe that's a better way of judging whether someone's right
So
for
it's a
you.
tailored presentation more than just a here, do a presentation from what Mark was saying, I think there.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
so it would be a case of this is a scenario. You think that you're a functional consultant. Here's a scenario of a customer requirement. Tell us how you would fix that requirement and let us ask you questions off the end.
yeah. I think that's
I
great.
think that's better as well
That's like,
because again,
yeah,
yeah, like if I gave you a solution from that, you would maybe have done it a different way, which is, let's be honest, the beauty of dynamics. There's many ways to do the same thing. So I would say I'd do this and
mm,
this, and then you could say, well, what about doing it this way? And either it would make me think, oh yeah, that's better, or I could say, no, I prefer to do it this way because of that. And it gets that conversation and instantly starts telling you, I think, if they're a bit of a team player or if they're going to be so defensive or if they're open to change. And you probably get a lot from that actually.
you'd get loads from that. Or like, think about Power Platform. If you're hiring people that are going to be doing Power Platform stuff, give them an app that's not working, something's not working on it, or give them like a small app that they could build over a couple of
That'd be every
days
app I've
by
tried to
way of an
build.
interview. Yeah, me too. I get someone to fix whatever it is on my contractor app that keeps changing the date format back to US every time anything updates on it. So yeah,
But yeah,
that's awesome.
no,
So yeah, yeah, great question, Mark. That's what I would do. Like, if given the preference, I would get rid of the CVs altogether. I would interview people on video or over the phone myself as the recruiter and ask them like the basic questions that HR people are wasting time doing. I would send that out instead of a CV and say, like, here you go. This is Mark Christie as a person. This is what he's about. Why don't you get him in and give him a scenario that he would face in his working life and get him to show you how he'd deal with it.
No, I
Like,
quite like that. I mean, let's be honest. If somebody says, "Here's a CV," I read their name and then go on their LinkedIn profile.
which is
yeah,
probably a copy and paste
honestly,
of their CV.
If they're smart,
or
yes.
vice versa. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been quite. I've interviewed a few folk recently, and their CV doesn't match their LinkedIn profile.
I'd say
Oh,
that's a
really?
Yeah,
Oh,
problem.
that's a rookie
Yeah,
error
that's a
right there.
basic one. That one.
Yeah, that's a real no.
yeah. If you tailor your CV, you need to then
And
tailor your LinkedIn profile, surely.
yeah, and do you know what? Another thing that I'm going to cover in the session is getting recommendations, because a lot of people are really like they don't really know how to go about it, and there's a really simple formula that you can follow that gets you exactly the kind of
Oh,
recommendation that
really?
you need if you're out there looking
That's
for a job.
interesting.
Yeah, I know all the tips, me. Yeah, know all the tricks.
There we go.
So that's something else that we'll cover, and what to do on the CV, because Mark, like you just said, most people read the name and then they see this kind of generic personal profile which is the same as everybody else's, and honestly, don't you just glaze over it and then you try and focus on who they've worked for
I am a
and how
team
long they've
player who
been there.
works well on his own, or I am a person who works well on his own
Yeah,
and is
I
good in
am
a team.
autonomous.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Honestly, I've been doing this over 20. I know I don't look old enough, and certainly
or
the man that hands out the papers at London Bridge doesn't think I look old enough. But I've been doing this over 20 years, and it doesn't matter, what space you recruit in. Like, everybody still writes their CV in that way and puts that personal profile like you
And
did when
probably
you were at
still tries.
school and you had no
Yeah, and probably
experience.
still tries to stick to 2
Yeah,
pages. I don't know if that's a true thing or not. I don't
yeah.
really know.
Don't no, don't. It's like, if you're going to do a CV at all, then you shouldn't have like arbitrary rules about it. If you can't fit it on 2 pages, you can't fit it on 2 pages. When you leave school or college and you're trying to put your first CV together, then like that's fine. But like, honestly, is that going to work for a contractor that's got 10 years of contracting experience? Like, it
No,
just isn't going to work. Um, so what I try to do, and there's a free CV guide you can download on our website, which I need to update a bit because it's got a really old picture where I've got hair, and
not really old. Remember, you're not that
it's
old.
well, it's not really old, but older. Yeah, it just tells you some really basic stuff, like just put your name up there, put a strap line, and then put your 3 best achievements, right? Because that's what you want to do, is focus on why is someone going to hire me, what am I going to do for that company, and just show that in really tangible terms right at the top of your CV. That's going to get you through the door more than your chronological list of who you
It's
work
the
for and
tagline, isn't
stuff
it?
like
That's
that.
what's going to attract and
So
make people read it and remember you, I think.
tagline's a wonder. It's literally a one sentence wonder, 100%. If somebody's looking to hire a D365 CE pre-sales consultant and they've got 10 CVs on their desk and one of them says Ian Connolly, D365 CE pre-sales consultant, which one's
Yeah.
getting an interview first?
not Ian.
It's
No,
a
I
no.
don't do interviews.
Not Ian,
Yeah.
because they probably know him. Doesn't do interviews either. Yeah.
He will take you
Yeah.
to a
I
pub
can't
and try
help
and
you.
bribe you.
Sorry, say that
He'll
again.
take you to the pub and try and bribe you, though.
Well, I'm open to bribes as well, as most people are, I'd say. So it's a
Yeah,
safe bet.
it's
Right.
exactly that, isn't it?
Uh, is there anything else that you would like to see covered in a session like that that we haven't talked about so far?
Oh, now you're putting it back on us. We never talked about this. We
Interview.
never
Do you have any questions for me? No, I've done my due
This was
diligence
not
beforehand, and I've
agreed.
read everything about your company. I don't need to know anything else.
That's a winner right there, isn't it?
So,
Yeah, I know everything.
with that in mind, we have read your session and we think your session is comprehensive and we have no additional questions for you at this time.
I like it. I see that. Yeah, very good. Well done. Well, I'm open to suggestions. You can
No, I think
message me
so
after.
I think
where
it's focused
can
around the whole
people
thing,
find
isn't it?
you?
As you said, it's as your tagline for your session is how to improve your current situation, how to brush up your CV, how to perform well at interviews, and get the offer you want. That's what the session's going to deliver, and that's exactly
Yeah.
what we've covered at this point.
That's it. I'm going to. Who is the brand that says it does exactly what it says on the tin? I'm going to
I was going to say it's either Ronseal or Cuprinol. I don't know which one it is.
I don't know
But at
which
least
one it
we're
is
both
either.
at
I
the
went
same
with
page, right?
Cuprinol, but it was something in that area. That was close enough. Yeah. Cool.
So, if people want to find out more information, where can they have a little look? Where can they find you? Where can they find the company online?
Yeah, you can find me and Maximus IT on LinkedIn and on Twitter. My LinkedIn is obviously Alison Mulligan. You can find me on Twitter as amulligan365. And Maximus on Twitter is Maximus_IT.
Well, thank you very much, Alison, and we can't wait to see you on the 29th of February.
We'll speak soon. Cheers. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Me too. Well, I'm sure I'll see you before that.